Every goal that works is born from the courage to face fear, dismiss excuses, and keep moving forward. One bold step at a time, even when the path is unclear. What if you're setting goals every year but never really moving closer to what you want? Why do some people reach their dreams while others stay stuck? What are you missing when your goals just don't seem to happen? Setting goals sounds simple, but doing it in a way that actually changes your life is something very few understand. You might feel frustrated, confused, or even defeated because your goals feel far away or out of reach. This is not about luck or motivation alone. It's about learning how to make goals real and powerful in your life. If you're ready to stop wasting time and energy on goals that don't work, this video will challenge you to take a fresh approach. You will discover how to create goals that pull you forward and keep you going even when things get tough. Stay with me and see how real change starts here. Now let's dive in. Number 1. Decide exactly what you truly want right now. Most people drift through life without ever stopping to ask themselves one of the most important questions. What do I really want right now? Not what someone else wants for you. Not what looks good to your friends. Not what sounds impressive to the world. What do you want deep in your heart? What would give you peace? What would make you proud to wake up in the morning? Most people never ask that question with full honesty. They're afraid of what the answer might demand from them. They fear that choosing something real will mean letting go of comfort and safety. And they're right. It will. But nothing great happens without truth. And truth begins when you look yourself in the mirror and say enough is enough. If you don't decide what you want, your life will be shaped by people who have already made decisions for themselves. You'll work for someone else's dream. You'll move according to someone else's timeline. And you'll wonder why your heart feels empty, even though you're doing all the right things. The first step to setting a goal that actually works is to decide exactly what you want. Not what sounds smart, not what sounds realistic. What you want, what you feel in your chest when the room goes quiet. What you think about late at night when everyone's asleep. That thing you keep brushing off because it seems too big or too far. That's where you start. You can't chase a blurry target. If the picture in your mind is unclear, your actions will always be scattered. You'll try something for a few days, then stop. You'll bounce from one idea to the next. Not because you're lazy, but because you're unsure. Uncertainty kills progress. Clarity creates movement. If you want to move fast and strong, you need to be clear. So how do you get clear? You stop and strip away all the noise. You sit down with a pen and paper. You take a deep breath. And you ask yourself, what am I tired of living without? What am I tired of pretending doesn't matter? What would make me proud to say out loud? What do I want so badly it scares me? You write that down, not to impress anyone, not to share with the world, but because writing it down makes it real. This is not about fantasy. This is about making a decision you can live with. A decision that will shape your daily choices. A decision that will decide how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what you say yes or no to. When you make a clear decision about what you want, everything starts to change. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop wasting your energy. You start moving with purpose. But here's what most people do. They say they want something, but they never commit. They never fully decide. They leave the door open just in case. They say maybe, or I'll see, or I'll try. Those words are traps. If you say you'll try, then you've already given yourself permission to quit. If you say maybe, then you've already created doubt. Decide, be direct, be clear. Say this is what I want, and I'm not backing down. You don't need a long speech. You don't need a big announcement. You just need a clear answer to the question, what do I want? That answer will give your actions direction. That answer will give your struggle meaning. That answer will keep you grounded when things get hard, and they will get hard. That's the price of real progress. But when you know what you want, you don't quit just because it hurts. Sometimes people avoid this step because they think they have too many interests. They say, I don't know where to start. Start with what matters most. Start with what keeps coming back in your mind. Start with what you can't stop thinking about. That's usually a sign. And once you choose it, don't look back. You can always adjust. You can always evolve. But nothing begins until you decide. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation comes and goes. What lasts is commitment. And commitment starts with a decision. The kind of decision that doesn't need anyone else's approval. The kind that might scare you a little. That's a good sign. That means you're finally being honest. That means you're reaching for something real. And real goals create real results. If you want change, you have to choose it. You have to say, I'm done with guessing. I'm done with wishing. I'm ready to decide. And once you decide, act like it. Think like it. Speak like it. Move like it. Let that decision shape every part of your life. Let it affect your habits, your schedule, your priorities. That's when it starts to work. That's when things start moving. Not because the world suddenly gets easier, but because you finally stop fighting yourself. You can't chase everything. If you try to chase too many things, you'll catch none of them. You need focus. Focus is a gift you give yourself when you decide what matters most. And that focus starts with a simple, honest answer to the question, what do I really want right now? If you're tired of drifting, make a decision. If you're tired of being busy without progress, make a decision. If you're tired of feeling like something's missing, even when you're doing a lot, make a decision. That's how goals become real. That's how you start building a life that actually means something to you. And when you do that, something shifts inside you. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop looking for approval. You stop comparing your path to someone else's. Because now you're building something that's yours, not theirs, not random, yours. And that's the only kind of goal that will hold up when life gets messy. Don't wait for someone to hand you your dream. Don't wait for a sign. Decide. Decide right now what you truly want. Write it down. Make it clear. And from that moment on, live like you mean it. Number 2. Write your goal clearly, with no distractions allowed. When you sit down to set a goal, clarity is not optional. A goal that is not written clearly might as well not exist. Vague words won't lead to strong results. General hopes don't guide actions. You need to see your goal in front of you, in black and white. It must be visible. It must be readable. It must be simple enough that even on your worst day, you can understand exactly what you're working toward. If you can't explain it to yourself in one straight sentence, then it's not clear enough. And if it's not clear, your energy will scatter in every direction but forward. You don't get power from thinking about goals. You get power when you stop thinking and start writing. Not typing while distracted, not jotting something down while checking your phone, not scribbling on a napkin during a conversation. Your goal deserves more respect than that. It deserves your full attention. It deserves a clear space. It deserves your time. That's how you begin to take it seriously. Clear writing forces you to slow down. It makes you choose the right words. It brings your thoughts out of your head and into the real world. It gives your goal structure. It turns a desire into a direction. It gives your brain something to build on. Without that, you'll always fall back into wishful thinking. You'll keep saying someday and nothing will change. When you write your goal, use words that have no room for confusion. Don't say, I want to get better. Better at what? How much better? By when? Don't say, I want more income. How much more? From where? By what date? These details matter. Because when things get tough, the only thing that pulls you forward is the exact target you set for yourself. You're not writing a slogan. You're giving yourself instructions. Your goal must be so clear, it cannot be misunderstood. That means writing it in a way that if a stranger read it, they would know exactly what you're aiming to do and when you plan to finish. It should not depend on how you feel. It should not depend on the day's mood. Feelings change. Goals don't. What you write needs to guide you regardless of what the weather looks like or what people say. Don't type it into your phone and forget about it. Don't hide it in a digital folder you'll never open again. Write it by hand. Use a notebook you respect. Use a pen that doesn't skip. Create an environment where you're not rushed. Turn off the music. Silence the phone. Close the tabs. You can't write clearly if your mind is scattered in 20 places. When you write your goal, the only thing that should exist is your mind and the paper in front of you. If you let distractions in while writing your goal, you've already started compromising. You're sending your brain a message that this isn't urgent, that this isn't a priority, that this is something you'll figure out later. And your brain listens. It remembers how you treat your goals. If you treat them casually, you'll chase them casually, and casual effort gets casual results. The writing process must be deliberate. Set aside time where nothing else is allowed to interrupt you. You wouldn't tolerate distractions in a life or death conversation. Treat your future the same way. Shut everything else out. The world will wait. The messages can wait. This is your time to create the roadmap for your own progress. Don't allow anything to dilute that. And don't make it look pretty before it's clear. Some people spend more time formatting the page than writing what matters. That's a trick your mind plays to avoid the real work. The real work is facing your thoughts, pulling them out one by one, and giving them form. That's how you find out what you actually want. That's how you create something you can act on. Make your goal strong in language. Use numbers if you have to. Add the deadline, add the amount, add the exact outcome. The more specific you get, the more energy you give it. Your brain thrives on specifics. It needs to know exactly what to chase. If you tell it to go after something abstract, it gets lost. But if you give it a finish line, it starts building the path. That's how you begin moving with direction. This is the moment to remove all fluff, all extra words, all weak phrases. Don't write what sounds polite. Write what is true. If you want to double your income in 6 months, write it like that. Don't water it down. If you want to lose a certain number of pounds, write the number. Don't say get fit. Fit means nothing if it's not defined. The more bold and real your goal is on paper, the more urgency it will create in your daily life. This is not about being impressive. This is about being honest. People often hide behind vague goals because they fear failure. They don't want to admit what they really want, because if they don't reach it, it might hurt. But let me tell you, not reaching a vague goal hurts even more, because you never know whether you've won or lost. You stay stuck in the middle. You drift. You settle. That's a quiet kind of defeat that slowly kills your fire. When you write your goal with clarity and zero distractions, you are choosing to live on purpose. You are saying to yourself, I am done being vague. I am done guessing. I am ready to take responsibility for the direction of my life. That act alone will separate you from most people. Because most people stay vague. Most people stay distracted. Most people never sit with themselves long enough to figure out what they truly want, let alone write it clearly. Once it's written, don't lock it away. Put it somewhere visible, somewhere you can't ignore. You should see your goal every single day, not just when you feel good, especially when you don't. Seeing it every day keeps your mind sharp. It reminds you of the standard you set. It prevents you from slipping into patterns that waste your time. It keeps your energy aligned with your direction. You are responsible for what happens next. And it begins with one action. Write the goal, clearly, completely, without noise, without half focus, without checking notifications. Give it your attention like it's your future, because it is. Nothing real can begin without this. No plan can be made. No routine can be built. No progress can be tracked. Until your goal is clear. Everything else is guesswork. There is no shortcut around this. This step is the one that holds everything else together. If you skip it, you will wander. If you rush it, you will backtrack. If you avoid it, you will repeat the same year again and again. You deserve better than that. You have the ability to be precise. You have the discipline to be still long enough to write something that matters. You just have to use it. This is how you stop being average. This is how you begin to pull away from the noise. By getting quiet, by getting clear, by writing with focus, by removing anything that breaks your attention. This is the real starting point of progress. And it only works if you do it without compromise. No background noise. No multitasking. Just you and the truth written down with total focus. Number 3. Break your big goal into small daily actions. You can have a big dream sitting in front of you. But unless you break it down into steps you can take every single day, it's never going to move. It doesn't matter how big or exciting your goal is. If you can't do something about it today, it's just sitting there collecting dust. Most people stay stuck not because they're weak or unmotivated, but because they don't know what to do next. The gap between where they are and where they want to be feels too wide. The goal is sitting at the top of the mountain, but they haven't built the steps. You need a goal you can touch every day. Something you can wake up and do without needing to think about the whole journey. When you try to solve everything at once, you shut down. Your mind gets overwhelmed. You start asking questions like, where do I even start? And when you don't have an answer, you go back to your old routine. Not because you don't care, but because the path isn't clear. You need small actions that remove confusion. A real goal isn't just about the result. It's about the system. It's about the work you can do consistently. That means turning the big picture into pieces, into small moves, into steps you can repeat. Your life doesn't change all at once. It changes when you decide to do the right thing, even on ordinary days. You can't just aim at the final destination and hope it pulls you forward. You have to walk. And walking happens one step at a time. You start by looking at your goal and asking, what part of this can I work on today? What piece of this can I move right now? If your goal is to write a book, the daily action is not write a bestseller. The daily action is write one page. That's it. And that one page is more valuable than 100 ideas that never leave your head. The result is built from the actions, not the thoughts, not the plans. The work, most people love to dream about the goal, but they don't love to live the process. They want the outcome, but they avoid the habits. And that's where everything falls apart. A dream without daily action is just a wish. You can't wish your way into progress. You need to move, and not just once. Over and over, until the small actions become a way of life. The small steps matter because they teach you discipline. They remind you that you're in control. They remove the pressure of needing to do it all at once. You don't have to change your whole life in 1 week. You just need to show up and do the thing you said you would do. If your goal is health, it might be walking 30 minutes. If your goal is financial freedom, it might be tracking every dollar today. These actions look small, but they carry weight. They train your brain to take responsibility. When you do the work daily, something changes inside you. You stop depending on emotion. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop giving power to excuses. You become the kind of person who gets things done. Not because it's easy, but because you decided the work matters more than comfort. That shift changes your future. The big goal is the vision. The small actions are the fuel. Every time you complete a small action, you build momentum. And momentum beats motivation every time. Motivation fades. Momentum builds. One action creates the next. You start to see results. Maybe not dramatic ones at first, but real ones. Your mind gets sharper. Your confidence grows. You feel like you're moving because you are. People lose faith in their goals when they don't see quick results. But that's because they're looking for results in the wrong place. The real win isn't the end result. It's the fact that you're doing something today. The victory is in showing up when it would have been easier to skip. That's what builds character. That's what builds progress. You can trust. One reason people struggle to take small steps is because they think they're too small to matter. They think if it doesn't hurt, it's not working. But that's not how it works. Progress doesn't come from stress. It comes from consistency. One small win leads to another, and over time those small wins compound. The results start to grow. The goal starts to feel real. And don't confuse busy work with small action. A small action is something that pushes the goal forward directly. If your goal is to build a business, checking your email is not a step. Making a sales call is. If your goal is to learn a skill, watching 10 videos without practice is not a step. Practicing the skill for 30 minutes is. You have to be honest with yourself about what counts. Be clear about what your small actions are and track them. Make your small actions so simple, you can't talk yourself out of them. If you aim too high on your daily expectations, you'll burn out. If you aim too low, you'll feel like it doesn't matter. The sweet spot is something challenging but doable. Something you can repeat tomorrow and the day after. That's how you stay in motion. Set a time. Set a place. Set a trigger. Make the action part of your day like brushing your teeth. You don't have to think about brushing your teeth. It just happens. Your small action needs to live in that space of habit. When it becomes automatic, the resistance fades. And when the resistance fades, the work gets done. And don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never feel ready every single day. That's why you build a system that doesn't rely on how you feel. You don't need inspiration to take one step. You need to decide that the step matters more than the mood. That's how real progress begins. Every big success story you've ever heard came from someone who mastered the small steps. They didn't wake up one day and suddenly arrive. They showed up when it was boring, when it was slow, when nobody clapped. They kept doing the little things the right way day after day. And over time, that built something unshakable. If you keep the steps small and the actions clear, you'll move faster than you think. Not because you're rushing, but because you're moving without pause. The mistake is to think you have to leap. You don't. You just have to keep walking. Every single day. One step. One task. One decision that says, I'm still going. This is how you win. This is how you build trust with yourself. You say what you'll do. Then you do it. Not once. Daily. Until the process becomes part of you. Until the goal becomes the outcome of hundreds of honest efforts. That's the kind of progress that doesn't fall apart. That's the kind that sticks. Number 4. Make your goal deadline real and non-negotiable. If a goal has no deadline, it becomes optional in your mind. It floats around without urgency, without power, and without impact. You start to treat it like a maybe instead of a must. And the human mind will always take the easy way out when there's no pressure to act. That's why setting a clear, fixed deadline is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. It gives your goal a time to live. It gives your progress a heartbeat. When you make a deadline real, you tell your mind, this isn't something I'll do one day. This is something I will finish by this day. People drift through their goals because there's no clear finish line. They say things like, I'll do it soon, or maybe next month, or I'll get around to it. But if you look closely, those are just ways to delay. They sound soft and harmless, but they're dangerous. They kill dreams quietly. And before you know it, years go by and nothing changes. Not because people didn't care, but because they never set a moment where they had to show up and deliver. When you put a deadline on your goal, something happens inside you. You stop treating it like a hobby. You stop making excuses. You start making time. You wake up with focus. You use your days differently. There's a purpose behind every action. That purpose is what keeps you going when things get hard. That deadline becomes a voice in your mind that says, I gave myself my word, and I intend to keep it. The truth is, we don't take goals seriously unless we attach real consequences to them. A deadline forces a decision. A deadline says, you said you would, now prove it. That pressure may feel uncomfortable, but it's what helps you grow. Growth doesn't come from staying comfortable. It comes from facing the moments that demand your best. When you make a deadline non-negotiable, you take your power back. You're no longer waiting for the perfect time. You're not looking for the perfect conditions. You're setting a line in the sand and saying, this is when I will deliver. That kind of clarity puts your mind to work in a different way. You begin to make decisions faster. You become more aware of your time. You stop wasting your hours on things that don't matter because the clock is ticking. Deadlines are not there to create panic. They're there to create action. If your deadline feels impossible, you won't move. But if your deadline feels real and reachable, you'll begin to work with urgency. You'll start to break your time into blocks. You'll plan your weeks. You'll protect your days. You'll begin to say no to the wrong things because you've said yes to something important. And here's what you must understand. The deadline must be personal. It must mean something to you. If it's just a date on the calendar with no emotional weight, you'll ignore it when you're tired. You'll move it around when it's inconvenient. That's not how progress is made. You need to tie the deadline to a standard. Not just a number, not just a day, a standard of who you said you would be. A deadline that says, this version of me is no longer acceptable. I'm moving forward now, not someday. You don't need to scream it to the world. You need to make it matter to you. You need to circle the date. You need to write it down. You need to build your daily actions around that finish line. And every single day you move closer. You build momentum. You stop being a person who talks about goals, and you start being a person who meets them. If you miss your own deadlines often, ask yourself why. Are you setting unrealistic expectations? Are you avoiding the hard work? Are you letting distractions run your schedule? Because when you miss one deadline, your mind gives you permission to miss the next one too. That's a dangerous pattern. That's how people lose belief in themselves. Not overnight, but little by little, a missed deadline becomes a broken promise, and too many broken promises build a life of regret. But when you meet your deadlines, even when it's hard, you build something even more valuable than the goal. You build character. You learn to trust your own voice. You build a record of follow-through, and that record becomes the foundation of self-respect. You start to say, when I say I'll do something, I do it. That identity shift is powerful, because once you believe that about yourself, you stop needing motivation. You work because it's who you are now. If your goal is serious, then your deadline must be serious. That means making it public if needed. That means telling someone who will hold you to it. That means making changes to your lifestyle that align with your timeline. It means making the deadline more than a date. Make it a commitment. Make it a promise. Not something you try to meet. Something you must meet. Some people will tell you deadlines don't matter, that you can move at your own pace forever. But I'm here to tell you that urgency is not your enemy. It's your friend. It wakes you up. It makes you sharper. It clears out the noise. It reminds you that your time is not unlimited, that your energy has a cost, that your potential isn't something to play with. A real deadline helps you remember what's at stake. When you know your deadline, you stop letting comfort win. You stop dragging your feet. You stop overthinking every move. You act. You adjust. You fix. You keep moving forward. Because the finish line is not a guess anymore. It's a decision. It's been set. And now your job is to show up for it. And don't wait until you feel ready to pick a date. Because if you do, you never will. You will always feel like you need more time, more preparation, more learning. But all of that is just a way to delay. Pick the date now. Make the commitment today. Tell yourself by this day, I will deliver. I don't need perfect. I need action. Every achievement you've ever admired came from someone who had a deadline and treated it like it was final. They didn't move it around to fit their comfort. They moved their schedule around to meet it. That's the mindset that makes things real. That's the approach that changes lives. When you create urgency around your deadline, your actions rise to meet it. You get sharper. You pay attention to your time. You cut out excuses. You focus on what matters. You stop wishing and you start working. And every step you take toward that deadline becomes a step toward the person you promised yourself you'd become. Number 5, track your progress daily. No matter how small. The reason most people give up on their goals is not because they're weak or lazy or uncommitted. It's because they don't see the results they were hoping for soon enough. They look for big wins. They expect something dramatic. And when it doesn't happen quickly, they think it's not working. But progress doesn't start with big changes. It starts with noticing the little wins. That's why you must track your progress every single day, even when it feels like nothing major has happened. When you track your progress daily, you give your effort a voice. You make your work count. You let yourself see the steps you're taking forward, instead of only seeing how far you still have to go. Most people quit because they only look at the finish line. They forget that the path is made up of tiny, repeated steps. If you don't write them down, if you don't record them, they disappear. And when they disappear, your motivation disappears too. People underestimate the power of small wins. They look too far ahead. They ignore the progress that's happening right under their nose. But when you stop for a moment at the end of the day and you write down what you did, even if it's just 10 minutes of work, even if it's just one page read, even if it's just one rep done, you give that effort meaning. and that meaning becomes the fuel that pushes you through the next day. Most of what kills progress is silence. Silence about the work being done. Silence about the time being invested. You must break that silence by paying attention. You must hold yourself accountable in real time, not just in memory. Because memory fades, emotions shift, but when it's written, when it's tracked, when it's visible, it becomes real. It becomes something you can look back on when your energy is low and your doubt is high. You don't need fancy apps or complicated charts. You need consistency. A notebook, a calendar, a checklist, something you can see and touch, something that reminds you that you've been showing up. Because when you've been showing up, even in small ways, you start to see a pattern, and patterns are what build belief. When you see that you've written in your journal 15 days in a row, you no longer say, "I hope I can be disciplined." You say, "I've already become someone who shows up." That shift changes everything. You begin to take your own efforts seriously. You begin to respect your process. And when you respect your process, you stick with it longer. And when you stick with it longer, the results begin to show up, not just in your body or bank account, but in your mind. Because the greatest reward of progress is not the result itself. It's who you become by being aware of your growth. You need to be the witness to your own transformation. You need to see it with your own eyes. That's why daily tracking matters. Not because it's exciting, not because it's flashy, but because it grounds you. It connects your effort to your future. It keeps you from drifting. Most people live in vague territory. They say, "I think I'm doing okay," or "I feel like I'm behind." But they don't know. They're guessing, and guessing doesn't build discipline. Tracking does. And when you track daily, you don't allow bad days to erase good ones. You don't throw away a whole week because one day didn't go well. You see the pattern, not the single moment. And the pattern is what you need to trust. Because success is never built in one day. It's built in the decision to not miss 2 days in a row. It's built in the quiet decision to show up again today. Even if yesterday was a mess, you won't always be motivated. That's a fact. You won't always feel inspired. Some days you'll be tired, stressed, overwhelmed, but if you've built the habit of tracking, you'll at least stop long enough to notice your state. And that noticing gives you a chance to adjust. Maybe today you only have 20% to give. But if you track that 20%, you keep the chain going. You don't break it. You prove that even at your lowest, you're still in the game. And don't underestimate the emotional power of seeing progress. Even a small checkbox, a crossed-out task, a note that says done, these things matter. They give your mind a sense of closure. They let your nervous system relax. They help you build confidence. And confidence is what allows you to set higher standards. If you never see what you've done, you'll never believe you can do more. Tracking also helps you spot patterns that sabotage your growth. Maybe you notice that you stop showing up every Friday. Maybe you see that your energy dips every time you skip sleep. Maybe you realize that you get more done in the morning. Without tracking, you're just guessing. With tracking, you're learning. You're getting smarter about how you use your time, your energy, your focus. And progress is not just about doing more. It's about doing better. It's about learning how you work best. And you can't learn that unless you're honest about how you're working now. That's what daily tracking gives you. It gives you data about your own behavior. And when you have that data, you can improve. You can adjust. You can evolve. It's not about perfection. It's about paying attention. And paying attention builds awareness. And awareness leads to control. And control leads to power. Not power over others, but power over your own path. The power to steer. The power to redirect. The power to stay grounded when distractions scream for your attention. Tracking your progress also makes you more grateful. It reminds you of the work you've already done. It gives you moments of reflection. You don't feel like you're starting from zero every day. You feel like you're adding to something. Like you're stacking your wins. Like you're building a body of work that matters. And that sense of accumulation feeds your drive. If you've ever felt stuck, it's not because you haven't moved. It's because you haven't seen how far you've come. and you haven't seen it because you haven't tracked it. You've let the days blur together. You've let the effort go unnoticed. But starting today, you can change that. You can decide that every effort counts, that no action is too small to record, that every step matters because it's part of your journey. This is how you stay consistent. This is how you outlast people who burn out. You build a relationship with your progress. You check in with it. You write it down. You own it. You no longer wait for praise or validation. You become the one who notices. You become the one who says, yes, I'm moving. Yes, I'm working. Yes, I'm better than I was yesterday. The habit of tracking is simple, but it's not easy. It takes discipline. It takes patience. It takes honesty. But once it's in place, it changes everything. It builds momentum. It builds belief. It builds results. Because now every day counts. Every action has weight. Every moment matters. And that's how real progress is made. Not through one big leap, but through 1,000 small steps that you were wise enough to notice. Number 6. Remind yourself daily why this goal matters. There will come a day when you don't feel like showing up, when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you've worked for weeks and nothing seems to be happening. On that day, you won't need another task. You won't need a bigger push. To sum to this, what you'll need is a reason, a clear, honest, personal reason. That's why it's not enough to just set a goal. You have to remind yourself why it matters to you. Every single day. You see, people don't quit because it's hard. They quit because they forget why they started. Life gets noisy. The world pulls at your attention. Your energy shifts. Emotions come and go. But when you reconnect with your reason every day, you stay focused. You stay emotionally connected to the outcome. And when your emotions are aligned, your actions follow more naturally. When you wake up and look at your calendar, your to-do list, your commitments, don't just ask what needs to get done. Ask yourself why this matters in the first place. Ask yourself who you're doing it for. Ask yourself what your life will look like if you actually achieve it. Not in vague terms, but in real detail. Picture it. Feel it. Let it live in your mind like it's already part of your life. That's how you keep the flame alive. Most people drift because they let the reason fade. They remember the steps but forget the purpose. The goal becomes another line in a notebook, another thing to check off. But it was never about checking a box. It was about building a life that feels right, that reflects who you are, that gives you peace when your head hits the pillow. And when you remember that, your effort becomes sacred again. It's easy to lose your sense of urgency when you don't stay connected to your reasons. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start again next week. But when the goal truly matters, and you remind yourself of that meaning daily, the cost of delay becomes real. You no longer feel okay putting it off. You feel the weight of not taking action. That feeling is uncomfortable, but it's necessary because it brings you back to what's important. You're not doing this to impress anyone. You're not doing this because someone told you to. You're doing it because something inside you wants a better life. Maybe it's freedom. Maybe it's stability. Maybe it's the ability to walk into a room and feel proud of who you've become. That desire is personal. It's not something anyone else can give you. And if you don't revisit it often, you'll lose your way. Each morning, before the world gets loud, take a quiet moment. Think about what this goal represents. Think about what's at stake. Think about what your life will feel like if you don't follow through. That feeling isn't meant to make you afraid. It's meant to wake you up, to remind you that your time is limited, that your energy is valuable, that your potential is real, but only if you act on it. There's something powerful about writing down your reason and reading it every day. Not once a week, not when you feel lost. Every day. It keeps your mind sharp. It clears away the fog. It makes the work meaningful. Because the truth is, most days won't be exciting. Most progress happens in the background. Quietly, you'll feel like nothing's moving. But when you remind yourself why it all matters, you give yourself permission to keep going, even when the feeling isn't there. This habit of reminding yourself isn't just mental, it's emotional. It pulls you out of apathy. It gives your day purpose, and purpose is what builds discipline. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about staying connected. It's about remembering that what you're doing today affects who you'll be tomorrow. It's about refusing to let life numb you into forgetting your own potential. You must make your reason stronger than your excuse. And that happens when you revisit your reason daily. That's how you stop giving yourself a way out. That's how you build conviction. When your goal has a deep emotional meaning, you fight harder for it. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop waiting for motivation. You start acting because your heart is tied to the outcome. Think of the person you used to be, the one who struggled, the one who hoped for more, the one who promised, "One day I'll get serious." That version of you deserves better. You owe it to yourself to not forget what made you set this goal in the first place. Was it pain? Was it frustration? Was it a vision of something greater? Whatever it was, that spark is still there. It just needs to be fed. Every single day. Even if the world doesn't understand, even if others don't see it the way you do, that's okay. This is your goal, your path, your reasons. You don't need approval. You need alignment. You need to know that your actions match what you say you want. That kind of integrity creates confidence, and confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you build, one day at a time, by keeping your reason alive. Some people try to fake it. They chase goals they don't care about. They work for things that don't move them. And eventually they stop. Because without a strong why, no amount of discipline can keep you going. You need more than a task list. You need emotional fire. And that fire doesn't come from outside. It comes from daily reflection. It comes from looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, "I know exactly why I'm doing this." Even when it's hard. Even when it's slow. Even when no one claps for you. That's the test. Can you keep showing up when the reward feels far away? You can. If you remind yourself why this goal matters every single day, you'll walk differently. You'll speak with more certainty. You'll act with more urgency. Because you're not guessing anymore. You're not trying to convince yourself. You know. And that knowing creates a power most people never tap into. When your reason is clear, you stop being casual. You stop tolerating distractions. You stop settling for average. Because now you've made this personal. You've decided that your life matters enough to be lived with direction. That's not something the world hands you. That's something you take back by remembering what you're fighting for every day. It's easy to be busy. Easy to fill your time with movement. But without meaning, that movement leads nowhere. That's why this step is not optional. It's the anchor that holds your focus. The compass that points you forward. Without it, you'll drift. With it, you'll stay grounded. You'll know what matters. You'll remember who you're becoming. And each time you reconnect with your reason, you reinforce your commitment, not just to the goal but to yourself. You stop running from the work. You stop pretending the discomfort means something's wrong. You lean into it, because you know what's on the other side. And you've made it clear that what you want is worth the struggle. Remind yourself daily why this goal matters. Not just with your words but with your actions, with your focus, with your consistency. Because when your reason is clear, your path becomes stronger, your discipline becomes sharper, and your life begins to align with the person you promised yourself you'd become. Number 7. Remove anything or anyone that slows you down. There's a truth we don't always like to face. Sometimes what's holding you back isn't your ability, it's not your resources, it's not even your circumstances. It's the things and the people you've allowed to stay in your life that have no business being there. If you want to move forward, you have to create space. And that means clearing out anything that's keeping you stuck in the same cycle. You can't move fast when you're dragging extra weight. You can't stay focused when your energy is being drained by distractions. Every time you hold on to something that doesn't serve you, you make it harder to reach the place you want to be. That's not a small deal. That's everything. Your environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. And if your environment is filled with noise, negativity, and excuses, your progress will always feel harder than it should. You don't need to apologize for protecting your peace. If a habit, a routine, or a person is slowing you down, you have every right to change it. That's not selfish. That's survival. You're not here to live someone else's idea of who you should be. You're here to build the life that feels right to you. That's only possible when you start being honest about what helps you grow and what keeps you stuck. Take a hard look at how you spend your time. How many hours are you giving away to things that add no value? How often are you saying yes out of guilt instead of standing up for what you need? How many conversations are you having that leave you drained instead of driven? Those aren't small details. They're the difference between momentum and mediocrity. You have to stop normalizing what's holding you back. People around you might not understand. Some of them might get upset when you start making changes. That's okay. You're not responsible for their comfort, you're responsible for your growth. And sometimes growth looks like distance. You don't have to burn bridges, but you do have to build boundaries. Because if you let people pull you off track every time you try to level up, you'll never make it to the life you're trying to build. There are things you've outgrown. Habits you formed when you didn't know better. You don't need to keep those just because they're familiar. That late night scrolling. That extra drink. That procrastination disguised as relaxing. All of it adds up. All of it either builds your future or takes it further away. You need to choose every day. If something isn't helping you build, it's slowly breaking you down. Success doesn't just require action. It requires subtraction. You have to take things out of your life that don't belong anymore. The TV show that steals your evenings. The person who only calls when they need something. The daily distractions that eat up your focus. They may seem small, but they're not. They're robbing you of energy, time, and clarity. And those are things you can't afford to waste if you're serious about your goal. Don't let guilt stop you from choosing better. You're not abandoning anyone by taking care of yourself. You're not being rude by protecting your time. You're not being difficult by saying no to what doesn't align. You're being clear. You're being responsible. You're finally honoring the future you say you want. And that takes courage. Because it means letting go of things that feel comfortable but are quietly killing your momentum. Start small if you have to. Clean up your space, organize your day. Say no to one thing that doesn't matter. Cut back on one habit that wastes your time. Then do it again. Then do it every day. Eventually your life starts to feel lighter. Your focus sharpens. Your energy returns. And you realize it wasn't that you lacked discipline. You were just distracted by too many things that didn't matter. You owe it to yourself to get serious about this. Because no one else will do it for you. No one's coming to clean up your schedule. No one's going to tell you when it's time to move on. You have to make that call. You have to decide what your time is worth. You have to decide who gets access to your energy. And you have to be brave enough to say, this no longer belongs in my life. This doesn't mean you have to live like a machine. It means you start living with intention. You stop letting the hours blur together. You stop waiting for motivation to strike. You start taking control of your environment. Because your environment will either pull you up or pull you back. And it's your job to choose which one it's going to be. Look around. Who in your life is helping you grow? Who makes you think bigger? Who challenges you to stay committed? Keep them close. Now ask yourself the harder question. Who always has a reason why you can't do it? Who brings doubt into the room every time you speak about your dream? Who drains your energy with gossip, complaints, or judgment? You don't need to hate them, but you do need to protect yourself. The longer you hold on to what slows you down, the longer you delay the life you want. And time isn't something you can buy back. You can't wait for the perfect moment to make these changes. That moment doesn't come. The moment you take control is the moment things start to shift. It's uncomfortable at first. You'll feel resistance, but discomfort is a small price to pay for real progress. This isn't about being extreme. It's about being honest. Honest about what's getting in the way. Honest about what no longer fits. Honest about how serious you are about the outcome. Because if you're not willing to let go of what limits you, you're not really ready for what's ahead. That might be hard to hear, but it's the truth. And the truth is where change begins. This is your life. You don't get a second version. Every day matters. Every distraction has a cost. Every person you allow into your space shapes the energy you carry. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your life adjusting to what slows you down instead of choosing what lifts you up. That's a choice. One you have to make again and again. Don't wait until you're burned out to make changes. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to clean up your priorities. Do it now. Get ahead of it. Be the kind of person who protects their focus, who respects their energy, who values their time. That's not about being tough. That's about being smart, about knowing what matters and refusing to let anything less steal your attention. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to grow. You're here to get better. You're here to build something meaningful. And that means learning how to let go. Let go of the habits that waste your mornings. Let go of the people who don't believe in you. Let go of the excuses that keep you playing small. You don't need them. You never did. What you need is a clear mind, a strong focus, an environment that reflects the future you're creating. That kind of life doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And the first step is simple. Remove anything or anyone that slows you down. Then keep going. Keep choosing better. Keep rising. Every day without apology, without hesitation, without compromise. Number 8. Face your excuses head on and crush them fast. Excuses are the enemy of growth. They sound reasonable, they feel familiar, and they show up right when you're about to make a real change. But the truth is, every excuse you accept is a doorway you close. A reason not to move forward is always just a shield your mind builds to protect you from effort. And if you don't confront those excuses directly, they'll become the story you live inside for years. The most dangerous thing about excuses is how easy they are to believe. They don't come in shouting. They whisper. They blend into your thoughts. I'm too tired. I'll start next week. I don't have the right tools. Nobody supports me. These sound harmless, but each one delays your progress and slowly steals your momentum. They create delay. Delay becomes habit, and that habit becomes your life if you're not careful. You have to catch excuses the moment they appear. Not tomorrow, not later in the day, right now, because the longer they sit in your mind, the more real they feel. You have to treat excuses like smoke in a room. If you don't clear it fast, you're going to suffocate in it. That's the kind of urgency you need when dealing with your own patterns. There's no waiting around for the perfect mindset. You build the mindset by facing resistance without giving in. Look at your life honestly. What have your excuses already cost you? What ideas did you leave behind because they felt too big? What changes did you delay because you told yourself the timing wasn't right? How many mornings did you talk yourself out of action? Those moments matter. Every time you say not now, you train your brain to accept comfort over challenge. And that's how years pass without any real change. This isn't about shame, it's about truth. Everyone has excuses. But the people who grow, the ones who create change, they don't let those excuses sit around. They question them. They challenge them. They replace them with action. That's what you need to do. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to decide that your progress matters more than your comfort. When an excuse shows up, ask yourself, what would happen if I did it anyway? What if I made the call? What if I showed up, even though I'm tired? What if I stopped explaining and just started doing? You'd be shocked how fast your life shifts when you stop making room for hesitation. Momentum builds fast when you move forward without asking for permission from your fears. Your mind is powerful, but it needs to be trained. If you let it run on autopilot, it will always choose ease over effort. That's why so many people stay stuck. They wait for motivation. They wait for clarity. They wait for life to feel just right. But none of that is required. What's required is action in the face of resistance. What's required is discipline in the moments when nobody's watching. What's required is refusing to let excuses lead the conversation. Start talking back to them. When your mind says, I can't do this, say why not. When it says, I don't have time, look at how much time you've already given to things that didn't matter. When it says, this is too hard, remind yourself that you've done hard things before and made it through. Every excuse you crush adds one more layer to your confidence. And confidence built that way doesn't fade. It gets stronger with every step. You don't need to fight the entire list of excuses at once. Start with the one that shows up the most. The one that holds you back every week. Get to know it. What triggers it? When does it show up? What's it trying to protect you from? Once you understand it, you can stop reacting to it. You can look it in the eye and say, not this time. That's how you take your power back, by breaking the automatic response and choosing action anyway. Every day you have a decision to make. Will you listen to the voice that says, stay comfortable, or the one that says, let's move? The first voice is easy. It doesn't ask much, just that you stay the same. The second voice, your true voice, it pushes. It calls you to step up, to take charge, to demand more of yourself, even when it's hard. That's the voice you follow if you want results. You're capable of so much more than your excuses allow. That's not motivation. That's reality. Most of what you think you can't do is just something you haven't done yet. But the only way to change that is to stop waiting for ideal conditions. You start anyway. You stumble through it if you have to. You get back up. You keep showing up. Excuses lose their power the moment you decide that forward is the only direction worth going. Don't argue with your excuses. Crush them. Action always wins that battle. You don't need to convince yourself that you're ready. You need to move before you feel like it. And the more you do, the more your brain learns a new pattern. It learns that you follow through, that you don't give in, that you're the kind of person who acts in spite of fear. Not because fear disappeared. The greatest form of respect you can show yourself is to stop accepting the same story that's held you back. Challenge it. Write a new one. One where you act, where you try, where you fail, and still keep going. That's the story of progress. That's the story that builds a future you can be proud of. You don't have to believe every excuse that shows up. You're allowed to reject them. You're allowed to build something better. This doesn't mean you won't face obstacles. It means you don't let those obstacles turn into permanent reasons to stay stuck. You learn to adapt. You learn to shift. You stay committed to action, not explanation, because that's where the growth happens. Not in thinking about it, not in planning forever, but in doing the work, especially when it's hard. You've got one shot at this life, and every excuse you allow is time you never get back. It's energy wasted. It's progress delayed. That's the reality. If you want change, then get in the habit of spotting your excuses and smashing them on the spot. Get used to saying, that's not true anymore. Get used to taking action even when your mind throws a dozen reasons why you shouldn't. That's where the breakthrough begins. You have a choice to make. Are you going to keep listening to the voice that says, maybe later? Or are you going to start moving now? The time is already passing. The opportunity is already here. You just have to say yes. Yes to effort. Yes to discipline. Yes to showing up, no matter what. And no more yes to excuses. Not today. Not ever again. Number 9. Take one bold step forward, even when afraid. Fear is one of the most natural feelings we experience as humans. It's built into our survival instincts, and it shows up whenever we try something new or push beyond what feels safe. But the truth is that fear doesn't disappear just because you wish it away. It doesn't wait politely on the sidelines while you figure things out. Fear is part of the process. What separates those who reach their goals from those who don't is the willingness to act despite being afraid. Taking one bold step forward, even when afraid, means choosing courage over comfort. It means deciding that the discomfort of fear will not control your decisions. This action is powerful because it breaks the cycle of paralysis that fear creates. It creates movement where there was hesitation. It builds confidence where doubt wanted to settle in. Every bold step, no matter how small, chips away at the hold fear has on you. Think about the moments when you were scared but did something anyway. Maybe it was speaking up in a meeting, starting a new job, or reaching out to someone important. That moment of courage changed everything. It opened doors that were closed before. It made the impossible feel possible. It's not that the fear vanished. It's that you chose to act in spite of it. That choice made you stronger. Fear often tells you stories that aren't true. It exaggerates risk. It highlights failures. And it questions your abilities. but those stories are just noise. Your focus needs to be on what you want, not on the what-ifs. Every time you take a bold step, you rewrite those stories. You show yourself what's really true, that you can handle more than you thought, that you are capable of moving forward, even when things are unclear. A bold step doesn't have to be huge. It just has to move you out of your comfort zone. It could be sending that email you've been putting off, making that phone call that scares you, or saying yes to an opportunity even if you don't feel ready. The size of the step isn't what matters. The commitment to move forward despite fear is what changes your path. When you take bold action, you ignite a spark inside you. That spark turns into momentum. Momentum that builds confidence and courage. Momentum that helps you face the next challenge with more strength. It shows your mind that fear is not a stop sign, but a signal to be brave. You begin to train your brain to expect progress, not paralysis. It's important to recognize that fear often shows up when the stakes feel high. When what you want is important, fear can feel even stronger. That's why taking one bold step is so critical. It proves that your desire for success is bigger than your fear of failure. It shows you and everyone around you that you are committed to your goal no matter what feelings arise. Many people wait for fear to go away before they act. That waiting is a trap. Fear will always find a way to stick around if you give it time. The only way to lessen its power is to move through it. When you move forward even with fear, you create evidence that fear is just a feeling, not a fact. It can't stop you unless you let it. Taking a bold step also changes your mindset. It shifts your focus from what could go wrong to what could go right. It shifts your energy from worry to action. It shifts your heart from hesitation to determination. This shift fuels your growth and brings you closer to your dreams. Each bold step creates a new experience that builds your belief in yourself. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite fear. It's normal to feel afraid. It's normal to doubt. But what's not normal is letting those feelings dictate your future. What's not normal is standing still. When you have the power to take that one step and change everything. When you feel fear, pay attention to it. Don't ignore it or push it aside. Recognize it for what it is. A sign that you are about to grow. A sign that you are stepping into something new and meaningful. Then choose action. Choose progress. Choose the bold step that shows you are not willing to let fear keep you small. Every bold step forward is a statement to yourself that you matter. It says you believe in your potential. It says your goals are worth the discomfort you might feel. It says you are willing to do what it takes to reach the life you want. That kind of commitment is rare and powerful. You may stumble along the way. You might make mistakes. That is part of the process. Taking a bold step does not guarantee perfection. It guarantees movement. It guarantees growth. And it guarantees that you are not stuck anymore. One bold step leads to another. Confidence builds. Fear loses its grip. The path ahead becomes clearer. What once seemed impossible begins to feel real. Your future is shaped by your willingness to move forward even when the weight of fear tries to hold you back. You do not need to have all the answers before you act. You don't need a perfect plan or perfect timing. You just need to choose one thing you can do today that pushes you closer to your goal. It can be uncomfortable. It will challenge you, but it will change you. The life you want is waiting on the other side of that bold step. The possibilities you dream of become real when you refuse to let fear be your guide. Courage grows in the moments you decide to act. It's a muscle that strengthens every time you choose to move forward. Your goal deserves your bravery. Your future deserves your commitment. You have more strength inside than you realize. Take that step. Take it now. Keep taking steps no matter what. Fear may be there, but it does not have the final say. You do. You are the one who decides your story. Number 10. Stick to your goal even when it gets hard. There will come a time when your goal feels like a heavy burden rather than an exciting dream. Challenges will pile up, obstacles will appear, and the energy you started with will seem to vanish. This is where most people give up. They stop because the path gets difficult or the results don't come as fast as they hoped. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the willingness to stick to the goal no matter how hard it gets. Sticking to your goal means holding steady, even when everything inside you screams to quit. It means pushing through the frustration, the fatigue, and the doubt. It means reminding yourself why you started and refusing to let temporary pain erase your long-term vision. There is power in endurance that goes beyond talent or luck. Endurance builds character, grit, and unstoppable momentum. Hard times test your commitment. They show you what you really want. If you walk away at the first sign of difficulty, your goal was never strong enough to carry you through. When you hold on through the toughest moments, you prove to yourself that your desire is bigger than any obstacle. This kind of resolve is the foundation of success. Your goal will not be a smooth ride. Expect setbacks and failures because they are part of every journey worth taking. What matters is how you respond when things go wrong. Will you let frustration win, or will you take a deep breath and keep moving? Staying focused when it's tough means choosing patience over impatience and persistence over comfort. When you stick to your goal, you develop resilience. You become someone who can face uncertainty without losing hope. Resilience allows you to adapt and keep your eyes on the prize even when the road changes unexpectedly. It turns pressure into progress and obstacles into opportunities. It is important to accept that hard days are normal and necessary. Those are the days that test your strength and shape your future. You might feel tired, worn down, or unsure. That is exactly when your decision to continue matters most. Progress is not about perfection. It's about showing up consistently even when you don't feel like it. Sticking to your goal means creating habits that support your progress. When motivation fades, habits take over. Daily routines, check-ins, and reminders keep you connected to your purpose. Building these routines helps you maintain focus without relying on willpower alone. This steadiness is what carries you through hard times. Sometimes sticking to a goal means making sacrifices. You might have to say no to distractions or delay instant gratification. You might miss out on comfort or convenience. These sacrifices are not losses but investments in your future. Every choice to stay on track brings you closer to the life you imagine. When doubts creep in, remind yourself that feeling uncertain is part of growth. No one has all the answers at every moment. The people who achieve big goals don't wait for perfect clarity. They act with faith in their ability to figure things out as they go. Sticking to your goal requires that faith and confidence. It is natural to want quick results, but meaningful change takes time. The process may feel slow, but every small step builds towards something greater. Sticking to your goal means valuing progress over speed. It means trusting the process even when the finish line seems far away. Remember how far you have come when you feel like quitting. Reflect on the effort, the lessons, and the growth you've experienced so far. Those moments are proof that you are capable. They are reminders that your hard work is not wasted. Using your past progress as fuel helps you push through the toughest parts. Sometimes you will need to adjust your approach. Sticking to a goal does not mean stubbornly following a plan that no longer works. It means staying committed to the outcome while being flexible in your methods. This balance between focus and adaptability is essential for overcoming challenges. Seek support when things get hard. Surround yourself with people who encourage your growth and believe in your vision. Isolation can make struggles feel overwhelming. Sharing your journey with others brings perspective and motivation. Encouragement from others helps you stay committed when your own strength falters. Visualize the life your goal will create for you. Imagine how it will feel to overcome the struggles and reach your destination. Use this vision as a source of energy during difficult moments. Keeping your eyes on the reward helps you endure the discomfort of the process. Hard work is not always glamorous, but it is real and effective. Sticking to your goal means being willing to do the work nobody sees. It means showing up even when it's boring or tiring. This kind of discipline produces results that last far beyond any quick fix. You will face moments of doubt and temptation to quit. It's normal to question yourself. What matters is your decision to keep moving forward. Each time you resist the urge to give up, you strengthen your confidence and your commitment. These moments shape the person you become. The journey toward any meaningful goal is a test of your character. Sticking to your goal during the hard times reveals your true strength. It proves you are more than your fears or frustrations. It shows that your commitment is deep and your will is unbreakable. Celebrate small victories along the way. Recognize your effort even when the big results have not arrived. These wins are signs of progress and reasons to keep going. They remind you that the work you put in today shapes tomorrow's success. It is easy to be enthusiastic at the beginning. The real challenge is maintaining that enthusiasm when faced with setbacks and delays. Sticking to your goal demands patience, endurance, and steady effort. Those qualities are the hallmarks of everyone who reaches their dreams. Life will test you. People might doubt your commitment or question your choices. You might face obstacles that seem unfair or too heavy. What counts is your ability to stay focused on your goal regardless of outside pressure. That inner resolve defines your path. Goals that are worth pursuing will push you beyond what feels comfortable. You will grow in ways you never expected. The hard times are part of that transformation. Sticking to your goal means trusting that growth even when it feels difficult. Remember that quitting is always an option, but it is not the option of those who succeed. Every successful person has had moments when giving up seemed easier. What makes the difference is the decision to keep going. That decision is available to you every single day. The commitment to stick to your goal is a daily choice. It's a decision you make every morning when you get up and face the day. It's a promise you keep to yourself no matter how tough things get. That promise is the foundation of your success story. Hard days do not last forever, but the strength you build during them lasts a lifetime. Sticking to your goal is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. It's the action that turns dreams into reality. It is the most important part of the journey.